The number one regret of dying people is that they didn't live the life they truly wanted to live. My mission is to keep you off that fucking list. How you feel matters. It's not a settling for less life. It's not a secondhand version life. It's not someone else's great idea of your life. It's you. Sometimes the most simple solutions are the ones that give us the most clarity and that are the most effective. Simplicity is clarity. Real talk, real wisdom. All heart, all in. This is The Roxanne Show. Today's episode is a little extra special. It's officially the 8-year anniversary of my podcast. And it's the final episode of 2025. So that I'm recording this in December 2025. You might be listening to this or watching this in, I don't know, it could be, June 2030. Fuck. That is a crazy thought. Whenever you are taking this in, I want you to know that you landed on this for a very, very important reason. The theme to this episode today is really the theme to my entire body of work. It's at the core of all of my work, and that is self-trust. You might be in a situation right now where you feel confused, you feel like you're having a hard time making a decision. I know that feeling. I go through it myself. I've been through it several times throughout my life. I mean, even when I just think about my journey, building out my podcast and, all of the work that surrounds it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, just having to make really what important, in quotations, decisions have played a massive role in just the building of the show, but especially my life. When you're really moving through life from your heart, which is what I frame as the portal to your most authentic self. You're not following anybody else's idea of what your life should look like, should be, should feel. It's really all you. And this is the life that I advocate for, because this is the life that I feel will not only lead you into self-actualization, so to evolve into the greatest expression of yourself in this life, but it's ultimately a life that belongs to you. Truly, it has your name on it, and it's a life where you never played small. It's a life where you bet on yourself. It's a life where you decided to go all in on you. And for the most part, I'm not saying you're not going to hit, because I know this to be true in my own life, that it's certainly not challenge free. It's the opposite of that. But it's a life that you will likely have more respect for in the end and even throughout it, because it's been you the entire time making your decisions and moving through it. And what I mean by that is it's been a series of you trusting yourself. It's not a settling for less life. It's not a secondhand version life. You know what I'm saying? It's not someone else's great idea of your life. It's you. And in order to really live this life and to find ways where you're thriving, where you're constantly moving in expansion, you're evolving in ways that are meaningful, that have depth, that have substance, that thrill you. Another, way I like to frame this life is to really be building a delicious life. Well, decisions are a massive part of it. So in today's episode, I'm going to give you a handful of my most powerful, decisive, creating questions that I genuinely rely on. These questions will come in at different points for different reasons, but each of them, all 5 of them, will prove to be highly valuable to not only help you be more decisive, to feel really powerful in your decision-making process, but will also help you to to be more expansive, to lead with more love, to center yourself. So, more emotional regulation, discipline, and mastery, because this is so important when we want to make decisions, right? To make a decision from a state of nervousness, a state where you're off your center, is never usually a good place to make a decision. So, I'm really excited to share these questions with you and to elaborate and give you a little storytelling, behind the scenes of my life and how, there have been moments specific to these questions that have helped me. All right, question number one. This one is especially useful when you're in the fire, you're in the thick of it. Internally, you feel like you don't have space. You might be in a state of overwhelm. You are in a state of frustration. You're just moving through a very difficult time. So, when I'm feeling that or any of that, the question I love to ask myself is, how can I make things easier on myself right now? How can I make things easier on myself right now? Sometimes the answer to that is simply I do this, I call it a 1 minute reset, which is just breath work for 1 minute, right? So I'm turning to a somatic remedy, right, to help me get through that moment. Sometimes it could be call my best friend and just have a talk session with her. Sometimes it could be journaling. Sometimes it could be eliminating shit off my calendar. Sometimes it could be anything to help my mind get more space. It could be going outside, getting sunlight. What I'm saying to you is, first and foremost, the most important piece is the question. Then it's giving yourself permission to do what is necessary to make things easier for yourself in that moment. And it doesn't have to be this whole big deal. It could just be one small thing that just lets you exhale more, that gives you more space, that allows you to get back into center, right? So that you can take that next step, that you could do that next thing. We can only do one thing at a time anyways, right? So this question, how can I make things easier on myself, is not only valuable for creating space and getting you back into center the center of your power, right? This is a power seat for you versus being thrown off balance and then trying to move from that. It's never going to be a good thing, right? Trying to move when you're wobbly. No, you get back into your steady state of self, and then you make a move from there. What I love about this question as well is that it's really a self love question. It's actually telling your subconscious or even your conscious state that you really matter. How you feel matters. And it's true. How you feel matters. The person who walks around rigid and uptight doesn't really care about how they feel. That might sound, I don't know how that sounds actually, and I'm not even gonna fucking dissect how that sounds. But the person who truly cares about how they feel and the goal is to feel in harmony. The goal is to feel calm, composed, joyful, happy. That person is going to recognize a lot easier when they're thrown off and doesn't become a victim of the circumstance, and instead will find a way to do what is necessary in a healthy way, obviously, to come back to center, to get that composure, and to feel good, right? So, this is really important to think about because self love can simply be an act of asking yourself that question: what could I do to make things easier on myself right now? And then moving into that action, and it's really valuable. It really helps. And it is a question that I will forever lean in on because I have so much proof at this point that it's effective. Sometimes the most simple solutions are the ones that give us the most clarity and that are the most effective. In fact, simplicity is clarity. This fucking coffee. I don't know about it. It's usually really good. Should I leave that in the podcast? Huh. Of course. All right, question number 2. So this is really a beautiful one. It's a simple one. It has a lot of depth to it. It may not be that easy to answer, but that's why it has a brother, right? We'll call it the big brother. So this is the sister question, and I will share the brother afterwards. So this question can be you got to make a decision. It could also be that you're in the moment where you're feeling uncomfortable, you're not sure, just kind of how to move next. The question is, how would love move in this moment? How would love move in this moment? I mean, this is a really good one, especially when you're in a conversation or maybe you're in an argument and a relationship, and it allows you to really pull out of really just this sort of closed, tight window that you might find yourself in that moment, and it allows your aperture to open because that's what love does. Love is an opening. Love is abundant. Love is expansive, right? Love is grounded. The brother question is, how would fear move in this moment? And I find that it could be easier to answer that one, the brother question, how would fear move in this moment versus love? Because sometimes you're so emotionally flooded by whatever situation you're in that it might be hard to bring yourself out of that and to go into the love energy. So when you think about what fear would do, you're already sort of closer to that energy. So it can be easier to say, well, fear is going to move more defensively. Fear is going to try and have more control. Fear is going to want me to shrink, right? Whereas like love wants you to expand. Love wants you to rise above. Love wants you to take a breath, right? This it's really useful to take both those questions and kind of group them together. Even if you can answer love really easy, I would ask yourself the brother question as well, because that will only make the love move more clear, more definitive, and allow you to execute from that state versus fear. I mean, because we always want to be moving from love. We really do, right? Love is where you're going to be more courageous. Love is where you're going to operate with more integrity. Love is where you're going to take chances that actually can make all the difference in your life. Love is where you're going to trust yourself more. Self love, just adding the self piece to it. Self love so often is what puts us in the arena to conquer, to achieve, to expand, to move into more of the vision life that we want to live for ourselves, the vision that's in our heart. We need to feel love for ourselves to move from that beat. This is just vital. It could even be something like, listen, I'm recording this at the end of the year. I'm sure you're getting ready thinking about what you want to accomplish next year, right? We all do that. Well, whatever any of that is, a lot of times it's health related, right? You want to get extra fit, you want to get extra healthy. I mean, if you're not feeling love, some kind of love, I'm not saying it has to be this overly romantic, poetic state of how much you love yourself. I mean, I would love that for you, but just enough love to say, you know what? I'm fucking worth this effort. I'm worth facing this hardship. Love will move you in that. And so we always want to be moving from love. That's my belief. And sometimes we have to evaluate how fear would actually move so that we could be sure that's not the way we want to be moving. You might be realizing by answering that question, oh shit, I'm actually trying to over control the situation, the outcome, right? I'm responding so reactively. I'm not even responding. I'm being reactive right now, right? I'm more of in a defense state than I am in a curious state in this conversation with my loved one, or you fill in the blank. So I really love the pairing of these two questions. How would love move in this moment? And how would fear move in this moment? And these are timeless questions, timeless. And I'll close on this line, just something that can help you that's very significant, just to keep in mind. Fear tries to cage you. Love will always expand you. Okay, question number 3. So this one comes up for me a lot at this point of my life. I have a relationship with my future self, and it's truly a relationship, right? So it's not just, "Oh, I have the vision of future Roxanne." No, I've developed a whole course on this. There's a link in the show notes if you wanna check it out. It is very beautiful and powerful, and I'm very proud of this course. Because it's easy, you hear a lot about future self and, or you can call vision self, and it's a big concept. And I have found through my work that it's actually not easy for a lot of people to just think about future self or vision self. It could, for a lot of different reasons, and I won't go into that right now, but it is a very, very, very important experience for you to give yourself, the experience of coming into a relationship with this, essentially, this future identity of yourself, right? And I'll say this very simply. The reason for that is because you are the one creating your life. Your life's not creating you. So years and years and years and years ago, in my journal, something clicked for me where I started to realize that it wasn't my life that was making me me. It was me, my thoughts, my behaviors, my standards, my habits, my beliefs, my desires, my decisions. That was making my life, right? And so it clicked for me where I started to think, well, if I am truly the one creating my life, well, then who is that woman, this version of me, the version of Roxanne that created the most ideal life that I envisioned for myself in my heart? And who is she is not just, what designer fucking clothes are hanging in her closet and what car is she driving. I mean, I love luxury, don't get it twisted, and that stuff does matter. But no, it was all about what what's her character? How does she move in chaos? How does she leave people feeling? What really matters to her? How does she make decisions? What are her values? What does she stand for? This all of this stuff is actually what really shapes an individual. So I started journaling a lot about her, and she became so clear to me that she started to come to me in meditation. And I've recorded many episodes about this. Again, I would create a whole course, my future self course, because what I have found is that she continued to meet me in my meditation. And this would go on for years. And then her voice, her presence was now, I was in a relationship with it, such to that when I found myself in moments where I had to make a decision, or maybe I'm in the middle of chaos, I would think, how does future me, I have a name for her, how would she move in this moment? And so that became, and still to this day, is truly it's like a secret weapon. But the thing about it is that you have to get really clear on who that expression of you even is, right? So what I'm gonna do with this question is I'm gonna tailor it down a bit. I'm gonna keep it super simple because, again, to really understand your future self, identify your vision self, and then come into an actual relationship is not an overnight process. It takes real work. But I want you to leverage this question as a right here, right now tool, which does incorporate your future self. So, what I did is I shortened the sort of time span around your future self. So, here is the question that was a long fucking lead in to this question, but an important one. So, this question number 4, what decision would my 1 year from now self respect me for? What decision would my 1 year from now self respect me for? I asked myself this. I mean, again, I can go, what would my future self respect me for? But in this moment, I think it's helpful to just think of yourself 1 year from now. So you don't get lost in the whole who's my future self. It could be a lot easier for most of you to just simply imagine, whatever month you're listening to if you are listening to this when it comes out, December 30th, 2025, what is the December 30th, 2026 self expression of you? What would that self really respect you for in this decision that you're going to make? I don't think a lot of people realize how important their own respect, self-respect actually is. It's not something that we talk a lot about or enough. I think as we're, growing up, it's not really, yeah, sure, you can hear about it, but I think it's a conversation that we have to go deeper on because the more that an individual, the more that you respect yourself, the higher level of self-esteem, the more self-worth, the more you're going to trust yourself and put yourself in situations that allow you to cultivate more confidence, that allow you to have standards and behaviors, habits that create a life of meaning, of depth, a life where you're thriving, a life that feels really fucking good, a life that you can stand in, a life full of integrity. We want to feel good about who we are. Respect plays a big part in that, right? So when you think about, I need to make a decision or I want to make a decision that my 1 year self would really respect me for, that's so different than what's the right decision, what's the wrong decision, what's the good decision, what's the bad decision. In fact, every one of these questions so far, none of it is about judgment. All of it is relational to self. And what this is my fucking jujitsu Miyagi way of helping you develop this bond with yourself. Every time you turn inward and you ask yourself these questions, you're trusting yourself more. You're going to move from more love, where you're going to move from more integrity and more courage. You're sharpening your instincts. You're trusting your intuition more. And you're certainly operating with more self-respect. I mean, just to be able to make a decision where you went inward to get the answer. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with obviously going outside and speaking to someone that you love, you trust, and you care. But ultimately, we're always going to make decisions. We want to make decisions from ourself. Because if we start making decisions based off of what anybody else thinks we should do, that's a very slippery slope. That's how we can start to build a life that's actually not ours. And that's ultimately how we can walk ourselves into regret. Now, I'll say this. If somebody that you love or that you respect said something that felt good, right, and true for you, you feel expanded, you feel sturdier in hearing that. Well, that's not you following what they said. That's a message, a signal coming to you that your soul is agreeing with. And that's a very different situation. But I will tell you that the more that you get to know yourself and you build this relationship that all these questions will help you to build, you're going to be able to discern the difference. You're going to know, oh, that I was supposed to hear that today. My heart is saying yes. My soul is saying fuck yes. And that's, so different again than just following along because he said, she said. No. So, what does 1 year from now, that version of you, that future self you, what would that expression of you respect in this decision that you need to make? What decision would that version of you respect more? This question is fucking gold. Okay. The grand finale, the crown question, the question of all fucking questions. And this is an interesting one because I don't care how much you fucking trust yourself. We could always trust ourselves more. Okay. So here's the crown question. If I trusted myself more in this moment, what would be the decision I would make? What's really cool about this question is that it allows you to check in the moment, in real time, with how much you're trusting yourself. And by the way, this is so important. Trusting yourself does not mean you're going to ace the test. It doesn't mean you're not going to get your ass kicked in your decision. It doesn't eliminate challenge. What it does is it allows you to feel in integrity with your decision, with your fucking soul. It allows you to ground into your most authentic self and to move from that beat. It allows you to eliminate shoulds, right? Here's one of my favorite quotes of my own favorite quote of myself. There are no shoulds that live in the heart. It is a sharp yes or a sharp no. Okay. And to live from the heart and to live from that yes or that no, we got to trust ourselves. And so it's very important for me to clarify this and make sure that it's really understood that when you're operating with self-trust and you're making decisions from that place, from I trust myself, that doesn't mean I trust that this decision or this outcome is going to give me exactly what I desire or I envision. No, it's saying regardless of what the outcome is, I know in my heart this is the move I'm meant to take right now, and that whatever outcome I face, it will be for me. I will find a way to thrive from it. It will be useful to me in some or many ways, even if I may not understand that right away. I know without a shadow of a doubt, this is the fucking move for me to make. You don't have to have clarity on the outcome. And there's certainly there's no guarantees ever on an outcome, right? But you can feel confident in your move right there. Or even if you don't feel confident, you can feel courageous simply because you're choosing to fucking trust yourself. And all of this is going to help you build confidence, and it's going to compound that self-respect because you have to respect yourself to move from self-trust. That part is so important to really just sit with for a moment and to think about, let it metabolize through you. You have to respect yourself to move from self-trust. And I often say that there are no handouts to self-trust. You have to earn it. And the best part about that is that you get to keep what you've earned, right? But at the very beginning of this episode, I said that, you know, what did I say? No, I'm just kidding. I had to. It was like hanging right there for me. But at the beginning of the episode, I said that self-trust it's the core of all of my work. It's at the center. If you were to distill all of my work down to one or two words, it is self-trust. I really believe that if we're not trusting ourselves, we're never meeting ourselves because we're always going to back down. We're going to play small. We're not going to make the moves that allow us to experience more of ourself. And that can, if you're trying to play it safe, you're never playing it true. You didn't come here to play it safe. You came here to play it true. True to your heart, true to your soul. This is where you're going to truly meet your authentic self and the evolution of your authentic self. To live any kind of mastery in life, you have to be operating from your most authentic self. And your authentic self is going to continuously be evolving. And this is why we have to trust ourselves so that we can live out that evolution, right? This is not light shit, I know, but I live in the deep end. And if you fucking or, if this is your first time taking me in, well, you know what? You probably do too, because you wouldn't have gotten this far in the episode if that wasn't the case. Listen, here's my big goal through all of my work. Research has proven that the number one regret of dying people is that they didn't live the life they truly wanted to live. And my mission through all of my work, through this podcast, through my writing, my books, my speaking, workshops, through all of it is to keep you off that fucking list. Keep you off that list. You got to do the work, and I'll just be here rambling about the ways that, might inform you in valuable ways, helpful ways, hold a mirror to your power, remind you that you have agency, that your inner authority is within you for a reason, and that trusting yourself is the fucking way through. Trusting yourself is how you get to truly move into self actualization, right? The pinnacle. How do you meet that greatest expression of yourself? You have to trust yourself. These questions I've shared with you, some of them have been with me for a long time, some of them more recent, all of them absolutely effective. I would never have been able to create, accomplish, achieve, experience all of the wonderful things that I have done so far in my life. I mean, I don't want to roll out my fucking resume, but I'm feeling pretty good. And yet I still feel like I always kind of live with this student and beginner mind. I like my poetic way of framing this is I'm endlessly beginning. This is I have a whole beautiful career behind me where I climb from the bottom competitive industry to the top 1%, right? I've built a community of thousands of people that are engaged, that I have a true connection with. Not every single person, but a lot of you I do, and I deeply cherish it. I get paid for my writing. I publish my writing. This podcast is a globally ranked top 1% podcast, and I can give you my word on this. You ain't seen nothing yet. This is just the beginning, endlessly beginning. I mean, that doesn't even cover my relationships, the emotional intelligence, health, trusting myself is at the core of all of that, because without the trust that I have continuously earned, I never would have been able to read off that little snippet of what I just shared. And most importantly, for me, honestly, it all comes down to how I feel about myself, right? I think that whether you realize it or not, that also is what really matters inside of you. And you just have to think about that more, really live deeply into it, like pull back. Is it? Is it? It is. We care about how we feel about ourselves, and fuck, we should. We should, right? Not to a place where we're, driven by fear and insecurity, and now you're a people pleaser or you have no boundaries. That's not what I'm talking about. Absolutely not. I'm talking about you care about your word. When you say something, you're going to back that shit up. You care about yourself, your health, your Your values, they're defined, you live from them, they're not just ideas, right? You have standards. You're clear on your sense of self, your essence. This is really important. So, it's easy at the end of the year to look at all the sort of materialistic things that we still want to bring into our lives. And I'm all for that. I'm here for it. But I want you to remember that, the outside game is an inside job. And the more that we can build this relationship with ourselves where we actually trust ourselves, where we respect ourselves, where the inner critic, the inner bully, all that, criticism and judgment is alchemized into more self-compassion, into more curiosity. I mean, this is the gold. This is how we start fucking really winning on the inside and out. And that's what I want for you, right? I want 360 degrees of feeling great and living a delicious life. So I am so excited to just carry this podcast into new levels and thank all of you who have been on the ride with me. Some of you from the very fucking beginning, some of you, this could be the first time ever. And hopefully you stick around and we get to grow together because it really is an adventure over here with me every day. And I'm grateful for all of you who are part of it too. So I hope one or all of these questions hit you in the heart, found you in the perfect moment, aligned timing, and really help you to be more decisive, to trust yourself more, to lead with more love and curiosity, and to build out a delicious fucking life because you deserve it. I will catch you on the next one.